Hi guys, this is Archer for the Lord here. I thought about, I've just started making chess videos. One of the things I wanted to do was try to familiarize other players with not so much the moves and the rules of chess, but what to do once you've got your pieces, all out, you're in the middle game. What sort of tactics do you look for? And what sort of things do you try to achieve? And I was thinking of doing a series on different weapons and different common tactics. I hear so many people say they're positional players, and really I'm a tactical player, and when I hear someone say that just makes me wonder if they just don't feel they have a good grasp of tactics. So that's why I'm trying to make these videos, to try to help everyone get better at their tactics, because to me I think tactics is really a large part of the game, more so than positional playing. So this is first position I want to look at. You'll notice that white is missing a rook. Black has a rook and white does not. The main tactic that I want to talk about in this video is the pin. Here white can pin the black queen to the black king, and you'll notice the bishop is protected by the pawn. The queen can't move anywhere, otherwise the bishop will attack the king. This is the basic premise of a pin. When a piece is being pinned, any defense that it offers is only illusory, meaning this queen would not be able to capture this bishop if somehow if this queen were to attack this bishop somehow and capture it. The black queen wouldn't be able to recapture it because it must stay on this diagonal, otherwise the king will be attacked. So in this position we notice the black queen is pinned to the black king. Do you see any other pins though in the position? Okay, you may have also noticed that this pawn is pinned to the black king. Is there a way we can use this to our advantage? Actually, there is. Because this pawn is pinned to the king, the thing that this pawn would protect, it no longer protects, namely this b3 pawn. Rook takes b3. Now, of course, if the king moves, let's say if the king goes, to a2, then of course black can just take this bishop, and after the pawn retakes, well, he's down. Also, we notice that if the bishop were to retake, still the same story. This bishop, while it may look like it's being protected by the pawn, is not. Queen takes b3. After king a1, queen takes a4. Black's next move will be to take c2 with the queen, with check. And I'd like to show you some more examples here. This position is actually a well-known trap in the Caro-Kann opening. Caro-Kann is where white opens with e4, black replies c6, d4, and d5. The whole point is to bolster this d5 pawn and try to obtain a very solid position. White normally will play something like knight c3, d takes e4, knight takes e4, and black's next few moves will be based on trying to get speedy development in attacking this knight. One common way you can see that is just by bishop to f5. But another thing we may see is knight to d7, preparing to go knight g to f6, and then if the knight recaptures, then this knight recaptures, and black has jumped ahead in development. But white has a very tricky pin that he can set up, and you would set that up with queen to e2. Now right now nothing is being pinned, but if black were to continue with his plan, knight g f6, then we see the pin materialize, knight d6 mate. Notice this pawn has now become pinned by the white queen, and it cannot capture this knight. The king has no squares to move to, so it's impossible to prevent knight from capturing the king next move. Some more examples of a pin. Oops, it's getting ahead of it. Okay, I guess it's already showing you the first move. In this position, there's not really any pins that we can exploit right away, but we can create a pin if we're crafty. So here, knight takes d7. The only reply to keep material balance is rook takes d7. After this move, I wonder if you can see a way that we can exploit the pin on this c7 bishop. You may have been thinking b5 to b6. Well, this doesn't exactly work. Knight can just capture here. But if we were to play, bishop takes d5, then after rook d5, b6 works. Black can try to attack our bishop, but it doesn't matter. This bishop is pinned, and a pinned piece is a paralyzed piece. It cannot move, and the next move will be b takes c7. Now, I'd like to show you another, another famous, oh boy, having technical difficulties here, folks. Another famous way to break out of a pin. You saw in the first example, because the pawn was pinned, the rook was able to capture here and basically nullify the whole bishop's protected position. I'm going to show you another way to get out of a pin. Now, pins against the king are the only pins that you can't break, by normal means, because that piece really cannot move. You can't expose the king to an attack. But if it's against, say, a queen, like this, I'm going to show you a way to get out of it. So let's say, white's just on normal moves here, and now with knight e7, this queen is no longer protecting this diagonal. So if the knight were to move somewhere in this diagonal, the queen couldn't capture it. So I'm going to give you a couple moments. Let's see if you can spot the tactic, if you haven't seen it before, which I'm sure many of you have. Okay, the move is bishop takes f7, and then after the king takes f7, the knight can move, and the priority of this check does not allow black time to capture the queen that was pinned. So after the king moves away, white recaptures the bishop, and he has won a pawn, and in fact, the king position is much weaker now. In fact, black is really going to have a tough time in this game on these light squares, specifically on this diagonal. White's already threatening to play, queen to e6 with a mating attack. I'm going to show you one more thing that happens in the opening as far as a pin goes, and this one too is a very famous way of breaking a pin. Very similar opening: e4, e5, knight f3, d6, Filador's defense. In my own personal opinion, Filador's defense does not work very well. You're basically already ceding control of the center, so I would really not recommend playing these moves with black. But of course, this is what the example's about. So bishop c4, bishop g4. Again, this pin's been set up against the knight. And now, in the other position, we saw white castling. In this one, white actually has a threat after knight c3, and if you don't know anything about this particular famous move, you may not see it. And if black plays something arbitrary like, h6, just, a nonsense move that doesn't defend against it, then he gets surprised when not only does the pin broken, but white moves his knight onto a square that's already guarded. So knight takes e5. Here, objectively, probably the best move for black is just to capture this knight and allow white to recapture the bishop. But if black gets greedy and plays bishop takes d1, then actually it's a mate. Bishop takes f7, king to e7, and knight to d5 mate. If you learn this mate, you'd be surprised the number of people that you can actually get with a trick like this. This is more something, you don't really want to shoot for this, but this is just showing you illustrating how to break a pin. So the main thing that we want to take away from this is that when you have a pin, whatever is on the other side of the pin, the more important piece really is your goal. And if you can continue to build up on the piece that's pinned, by attacking it with pawns, that's really the way to do it, because that piece can't move. And eventually, if you can build up more than black can defend, then that piece or that pawn, whatever your target is going to be overtaken by your forces. So this is the first one on the pin, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to be following this up. The second one I'm going to do on a double attack. Alright, thanks for watching, guys.